Latin Igbobi College. King's College had 100% victory record over St. Finbar's. At least in my year. So Floriat to anybody that's here from King's College. We do love you. And competition is always very healthy. So we've applauded the vision and the determination and the perseverance of the proprietor, Dr. Onoboale. And I'm here this afternoon on behalf of His Excellency, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, our governor, to congratulate you on 1 year of success and 1 year of astounding accolades for this great facility that exists in Lagos. But I just want to add that I have not met a more persevering individual, a more excellent business acumen. And I often wonder whether indeed you are a medical doctor. Because how you play around with finances, exchange rates, calculations, and lockdowns in terms of movement of cash is nothing less than astounding. And I got to know Dr. Onoboale quite well during the COVID outbreak. And at the time when most private hospitals were scared of treading where government had to tread by nature of who we are, Dr. Onoboale and his group of excellent medical fraternity stepped up very boldly when we made a call for private sector involvement, and he jumped into the COVID response wholeheartedly, and it was definitely the initiating act that caused many other private sector establishments to engage in COVID-19 activity at a time when no one really knew what this virus was and whether we would all be wiped out by this novel pathogen for which most people had not received much training. But as you are described, you have a heart of a lion, and there are many lions in Lagos. Seems to be the center of lions. But congratulations. While Nigeria is spending $1.5 billion on medical tourism every year, while 10,000 of our medical professionals are in the UK, while 4,000 of our excellent doctors are in the United States, it has become imperative that the government has a strategic initiative to reverse medical tourism and at the same time attempt to complete the cycle or the recycling / brain gain of our medical healthcare professionals in the diaspora. And as part of Mr. Governor's elaborate 30-year strategic plan for Lagos State, which was launched at the end of the Enyigbeti this year, a few weeks ago, the government of Lagos, as part of its 30-year strategic plan, is to make Lagos State the model smart megacity of Africa. And that's not just on paper. And also included in that plan is to establish Lagos as the center of medical excellence and medical tourism also on the continent of Africa. So, as we saw our Vice President give a very encouraging video rendition of his time here, and as we heard Otumba also give us an account of his excellent medical and hospitality that he received here, those are indeed very encouraging signs. Because while our leaders would first rather choose to go abroad, for our Vice President to demonstrate that he has the confidence to come to a facility in Lagos State to receive advanced treatment, I think deserves an applause. As he has set the pace for others to follow. We also learned that during COVID, if you didn't get your home in order, a situation like COVID made it impossible for you to travel. And so it was important that during COVID, if you had a life-threatening condition, that normally we would choose to go abroad to get the best medical expertise. It became very clear to us that we can't predict things like COVID, but we certainly know that COVID is not going to be the last of such situations. It is therefore very important that we develop the bouquet of medical expertise here in Lagos so that as Nigerians, when we are faced with another situation like that, we can confidently say we can receive the best of medical care within the shores of Nigeria and in the center of excellence in Lagos. So the Lagos State Ministry of Health has a deliberate strategy to develop Lagos as the center of medical tourism on the continent of Africa. And in so doing, we have embarked on certain strategic initiatives. But first of all, it was important for us to do our research and collect accurate data on what is the health-seeking behavior of Lagosians and Nigerians in terms of trying to obtain the best medical treatment for themselves or for their loved ones. And what we found was that Nigerians, the top 3 reasons, or top 4 reasons for Nigerians seeking medical expertise abroad was orthopedics, that is the treatment of bones and joints, cardiac or heart ailments, oncology or cancer, and urology for bladder and prostate. And so as government, we have deliberately embarked on establishing these centers of public health medical expertise within the fraternity of our medical facilities, government facilities in Lagos. But it is important, knowing full well that 80% of Lagosians will seek their health care in the private sector. And so it is important for us to ensure that we create an enabling environment for the private sector to flourish, because they make a significant contribution both in private commerce and in private medical to the GDP of Lagos State, which many people will describe as obviously the largest GDP in West Africa, other than Nigeria, and the fourth largest GDP on the continent. So everybody wants to be in Lagos. There is a reason for that. And the reason for that is the reason why we're here today. Because the government is not competing with the private sector. We have no business competing with the private sector. Our job is to set the pace, is to create that enabling environment for the private sector, to regulate and to protect the citizens of this great state. So in so doing, it is important that the government ensures that the standard of healthcare delivery in Lagos is on par with international best practices. Because in our effort to protect the private sector, as the government, one of our key functionalities and responsibilities is to regulate. And when we talk about regulation, we're talking about ensuring that we, as best we can, eliminate quackery. Because quackery is the sure element that is going to undermine the success of high-caliber institutions like this. And quackery comes in many forms. There are people that are pretending to be medical professionals when they're not. But more importantly, and I'm sure that many of my medical colleagues don't like when I say this, but there is internal quackery. And internal quackery is when you are a medical professional, but you're operating outside of the scope of your expertise. That is internal quackery. And internal quackery will surely undermine this facility, because people will say they can replace knees when they can't. And even if when they try, they will put in a substandard artificial prosthesis, which will plague you for the rest of your life. Whereas in a place like this, you know you're going to get the best prosthesis and you know you're going to get the best surgical expertise. But that does not come cheap. Because the orthopedic surgeon you saw talking on the screen has spent half his life becoming an expert that you can put your life in his hands and return you to working unassisted. And our job as government is to make sure that this internal quackery is limited. And we do that through the auspices of our regulatory agency, HEFAMA. And one thing that we have also noticed in Lagos, in an attempt to reverse medical tourism, is what we call helicopter medicine. And we've also made a deliberate effort to control helicopter medicine. And what is helicopter medicine? It is when medical specialists from around the world some of them Nigerians, many of them not, fly into Lagos to carry out specialized medical services, spend a couple of days, and fly out again. And when there are complications, post-surgery or whatever, they're not around. That is a very dangerous practice. And a place like this, the surgeons that are carrying out the operations, whether they're in country or not, at least there's enough expertise on ground to manage the complications should they arise subsequently. And so we've made it compulsory that anybody flying into Lagos to carry out what we call, we're not stopping it, but we're saying we're going to regulate it. So if you want to come into Lagos and practice a specialist kind of medical procedure, you will first of all, by law, be registered with the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria. That is the law. After you have registered, you will present your credentials to the Ministry of Health and tell us that I am a specialist in XYZ, here are my credentials, and we will look for your registration with MDCN. And then we will ask you, so where are you going to be practicing your medical skills? And they will say, I'm going to X facility, I'm going to Y facility. That's fine. We will then ask for the medical credentials of the facility. Principally to make sure that first of all, they have the right infrastructure for you to perform your procedures. But secondly, and more importantly, that on your return to wherever you came in from, that should something happen to the patient, there is somebody there other than conducting virtual consultations. There is somebody on ground who has the capabilities and the expertise to manage any complications. So as government, we're not only protecting you, we're also protecting the populace. And we're creating a stable and a regulated environment for the real specialists to practice. And it also protects your bottom line. Because if you have all sorts of, there's nothing wrong with competition, but as you know, and as you have rightly pointed out, that your consultation fee is 5,000 naira, that is competition. But you have the credentials to do that. So when you say your consultation fee is 5,000, every other medical facility in Lagos has heard that. And they're saying, wow, the lion has struck again. But it is not in the first consultation that I'm sure your profit margins come. It is in what happens subsequently. And I often say that as we build the confidence of Nigerians and Africans in coming to receive medical expert treatment in Lagos, it's all about confidence. And when you have developed that confidence, then the rest is easy. So, when we are looking as a strategy to promote medical tourism and to slow down brain drain, we are not so concerned, although it is an issue of deep deliberation on our part. When our young professionals leave Nigeria or leave Lagos, yes, we are concerned. But it is important that some of them do leave and go and attain skills in centers of excellence around the world. But it is more important that they come back home. And I've been around the world in several parts of several continents. And of course, I'm also guilty of jackpieism. But I've corrected my sins by pajaing, as many of us in this room have done. There's nothing wrong with going abroad. There's nothing wrong with it. Just don't forget who you are and where you come from. And those of us that were schooled here in Nigeria, St. Gregory's, Igbobi College, did I hear King's College? Yes. I almost forgot. I remember leaving Nigeria to go to university in London, and I felt that my classmates were inferior to me because the schooling system in this country was A1. And medical school for me was a dream because I was taught so well in this country. And the same thing goes for our doctors in those days. People used to queue up and try to attract doctors from UCH, from Luth, from Zaria, because they were real doctors. Doctors who knew what they were doing. And so I have no doubt whatsoever that we will return to that situation. But I'm also encouraged by the fact that I, in my trips around the world, working in various institutions, talking to many medical professionals and other Nigerians in the diaspora, I have never met one Nigerian who doesn't want to come back home. It is therefore important that we create that opportunity to establish what I call the virtuous cycle. Not a vicious cycle, the virtuous cycle. A cycle that completes itself and continues to get stronger and stronger. So while our doctors and our medical professionals are going abroad for whatever reason, it is important that we create the opportunity for them to come back home. And this kind of facility is the facility that has just added another 100 beds to our complement of beds in Lagos, and another 10 and 20, I can't remember the figures exactly, of ICU beds and cardiac beds. That is adding to the repertoire and the bouquet of medical expertise available to us in Lagos. And while you're doing your thing in the private sector, we're doing our thing in the public sector, because that issue around trust and confidence must cut across the two areas. And often people are scared to go to the private sector and would rather go to one of our government general hospitals or LASUTH, our tertiary, because there's a general impression that in the private sector you get overtreated. And if there's any accusation on the public sector, is that perhaps you get undertreated in a not so friendly environment. But there's nothing worse than being overtreated. And it is something that government is very, very concerned about. I often say that we must change the culture of patients' understanding of what a consultation is all about. Sometimes you can go and see a doctor, And if the doctor is worth his salt, if you do not require treatment, the doctor should say, you can get better by just changing your lifestyle or doing X, Y, Z. It is not compulsory that you receive a prescription. It is not compulsory that you receive an injection, particularly if the same drug can be given to you orally by mouth. It is not compulsory that you go through a surgical procedure. If a lifestyle change will do the same thing. And so, while the consultation fee may be whatever, 5,000 is the cheapest I've ever heard, but it could be 20,000, it could be 30,000. And you walk out of that consultation room and the first thing you do is complain to your relatives that they didn't even give me a prescription. You're not paying for this prescription. You're paying for the medical expertise that specialist has spent 10 years of his life post-medical school acquiring and learning and understanding that sometimes I can make a patient better by simply counseling them or asking them to do X, Y, Z, other than writing a prescription or giving an injection or subjecting them to a surgical procedure or any other procedure that is not necessary. And that is what we call also a form of quackery. And it must be eliminated. But how do we eliminate it? We also have to educate the populace that not everything requires a certain kind of treatment. And I'm fully confident that in this facility, and from what I've heard, that overtreatment is not part of the value of this facility. And so, putting it all together, we are delighted to congratulate you to have completed 1 year. I hear nothing but good remarks of patients that come here. Even Mr. Governor, I was not here when you commissioned. The next day he called me and he said, have you been to Duchess? I said, no, sir. He said, wow, you better go. In fact, go tomorrow. I said, okay, sir, I will go. I will go one day and see for myself. One day I was outside there at Yellow Chili trying to swallow some eba. And I was spotted. And the proprietor came down and said, you see, you're coming to Yellow Chili, but you're not coming to Duchess. I said, don't worry. When I come, I want to come in style. And on an occasion like this, where there are many well-wishers and persons with first-hand testimonials of what's going on in this facility, from the vice president to our very own Egbon, Otumba Shonibare, and many others who have come here. And you see, part of the healing process is etiquette and hospitality. It is such an important component of getting better. Because in a facility like this, if a doctor can come up to you or a nurse with, encouraging words and tell you, don't worry, we got you covered. I was recently reviewing a case of a patient that had a heart attack, a young patient. And out of 3 cardiologists, one opted for major surgical intervention, and 2 opted for conservative management, which means use other means of managing this patient. And I spent quite a lot of time deliberating with the 3 cardiologists, and I was so impressed with the professional debate around this patient, which demonstrated to me that indeed we have some of the highest caliber medical professionals operating here in Lagos State. So we are not in any way afraid of our strategic target to make Lagos State the medical destination of choice for Africa. We know, and we're seeing it unravel, as government has a deliberate strategy as part of its smart model megacity to do what we have to do in the public sector and encourage the private sector to do what they have to do. And to make sure that when people talk about health in Lagos, whether it's private or public, it is a reflection of international best practices and standards that you can get anywhere. And as Otumba said, when you are receiving an advanced medical procedure, it is very important that you are surrounded by friends and loved ones. It makes such a big difference. And how many friends and loved ones can you fly to India or fly to Saudi, to Dubai or to Johannesburg or to London? It becomes an activity beyond your financial capabilities. And so what better than to have facilities like this where you can enjoy yourself, you can trust that you're going to be seen by the best trained medical experts, and you can be at home receiving your guests, eating your natural food, enjoying yourself knowing that you're only a few minutes away from your home, and that as soon as you're discharged, and if there are any problems, you don't have to fly anywhere to see somebody for post-op consultations. It's just down the road. And so all that adds up to us creating this virtuous cycle of medical expertise. And if we are able to attract just 10% of the medical professionals that are abroad in the diaspora, Nigerians, we will change the face of Lagos and Nigeria as a center of medical excellence. On that note, I'd like to continue to encourage you, continue to support you in any way we can. You're aware that we're about to go into the new era of health insurance. And I can see representatives of the National Health Insurance Authority. And they were called National Health Insurance Scheme before. Just one word change from scheme to authority has made a huge difference, because inside the new law makes it compulsory that all Nigerians should have an insurance package in their pocket. And that is going to change how we practice medicine in this country, because a place like Duchess Hospital is going to attract thousands of patients who will choose this facility as their predominant facility. And the way insurance is packaged at the moment, you get what's called capitation. And capitation is a wonderful way for us as doctors to get free money. But it's not free money. It's a brilliant health financial scheme where you receive money for the number of people that are enrolled in your facility. And it sets up competition. So if you have 50,000 patients enrolled, the doctor next door is going to wonder what you're doing, because those 50,000, by the time you receive your capitation every month, you will know that that is a sizable amount of money that you can use to continue to improve the service of care delivery that you give here. And what is that going to do? And as far as government is concerned, we're trying to make sure that we change our practice from care to prevention. So we're hoping that as medical facilities receive this capitation from insurance every month, that they will use that money to establish what we call wellness clinics, to see the patients that are registered under your facility, to make sure that they don't develop end-stage hypertensive heart disease or end-stage renal disease or the end stages of diabetes. That you run wellness clinics, and those people that are registered in your facility, that they come and they get preventative care. So that if they are prone to diabetes or prone to hypertension, that you pick it up early and you manage them so that they don't come into your facility with a stroke or with a kidney that has been damaged by uncontrolled diabetes. And that is where we're going to as government, because prevention is always better than cure. And our brilliant strategy, as is enabled in the Act, the NHI Act, will help us to do that through capitation, to make sure we can encourage our health facilities in Lagos to keep Lagosians healthy, rather than trying to make sure that our citizens are only having access to treatment. So I'm delighted today, and I bring you the well wishes of His Excellency. He would have loved to be here, but since he commissioned it, he told me, you go this time. Since you haven't seen the Duchess, go and see it for yourself. And make sure that the public facilities are as good as the Duchess. I took slight offense to that. But I know what he means, and I know you know what he means. And so I'm here, and I hope that we'll continue to work together, to collaborate together. We're here to help you. If there's anything you need, you know you can count on us to be there for you. We're here to encourage you. We're here to put out the word. We're here to make sure that quackery doesn't affect your bottom line. And we're here to tell all Lagosians and all Nigerians that are listening that we endorse this facility wholeheartedly. And if the choice of our vice president to seek his health care in this facility is not enough endorsement, then I don't know what is. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Very shortly, I'll be inviting the chairman of the Reddington Group to say a few words. However, and I say this with responsibility, it took you 1 year to come here. I hope in the intervening period, you didn't go to Yellow Chili again. Okay, so that's all. No offense taken. So right now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to hear a few words from the visionary-in-chief of the Reddington Group, Dr. Yemi Onobowale.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. All protocols observed. First, I want to thank Almighty God for being good to us and gracious to us for establishing this facility and then seeing us through in the past 1 year. We give glory to Him. Now, I'm a happy man today because the main purpose of establishing this facility, and from all I've seen today, is being realized, not has been realized, is being realized because we still have a lot of work to do. The aim is to impact lives with world-class healthcare. We need to touch thousands of lives. And I'll request indulgence from the Honorable Commissioner that we partner with Lagos State to visit less privileged communities where we can also impact on their lives. Though Duchess may sound royal, but it's not about royalty, it's about lives. And that's why we're here, even down to the common man on the street. I know we've taken so much of your time today, but I want to use this opportunity first to thank His Excellency, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, for the confidence and trust he had in us, and also for the goodwill message he sent. I want to thank His Excellency, Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and also for the representation that we had in the person of Professor Akin. Thank you so much for coming over. And I want to thank every member of the Reddington Group, the staff of Duchess. You've done fantastic work in the past 1 year. We are so grateful. Thank you so much. And of course, I have to thank my wife for all the support. And like talking about business, like Prof said, what's going on in my head now is the next project. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that was an impromptu vote of thanks. But there is someone here who officially is going to move a vote of thanks. But I couldn't help observing, you've been married to your wife for like going on 3 decades now? She was looking at him with love in her eyes. And I'm saying, after all this time, you can still look at this guy. For those of you who understand Latin, you speak a little Latin, I just had to say that because it was sweet to watch. She was looking at him with love. Great. But now, the official vote of thanks, after which the Honorable Commissioner will be led on a guided tour of this excellent facility that you are only just seeing after 1 year. Don't worry, you're seeing it when it's been tried and tested. And we know that it is excellent. So you can enter anywhere and there will be no fear that you will uncover quackery. So I'd like to call on the Chief Operating Officer of the Duchess International Hospital, Madam Unati Jingram, to move the official vote of thanks, after which a tour will be conducted.
Thank you, Patrick. Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols observed. Thank you, dignitaries, for taking out time today and being a part of this magnificent journey that Duchess is all about. if I were to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, as we have heard, right from the vision of our honorable chairman, to actually think of something like that for Nigeria when COVID was not even in existence, that's what visionaries do. For our CEO to tell us, for a show like this to go on, there's a lot that goes in the background. For him to tell us always, be like the ducks who pedal but never let it show. Although it did show still, we'll get to that later on. And for all the basic stars who are the medical dignitaries here, I would like to call upon all the doctors and nurses, without which and without whom this hospital is nothing. Thank you for doing everything that you did. For the quality team to have had things like COSASA, which is part of the global accreditation, and for us to apply for a COSASA certification within the 10 months of Duchess coming in existence, and for our brilliant scores, go ahead to prove that quality is not something that Duchess looks at compromising. For the support that we've received from the parent group, Reddington, from the colleagues there in terms of their intelligence, support, guidance, and everything else, we are honored and grateful. And going back to what Patrick was saying, the closing remark that I would like to put on is, it's almost like the marriage vows. We at Duchess are with you through thick and thin, through good and bad, in health and in sickness, through our wellness programs, in richness, and for those who are not able to be so privileged. We'll be with you right along. Thank you.
How so very touching. And at this time, I would like to crave the indulgence of our esteemed guest at this time to accompany the Honorable Commissioner for Health as he inspects this facility on a guided tour. So the people on our first row, please. I would like a group photograph with the people of the, please, a group photograph of all. Please come on the stage. Igbobi, come on the stage. Please come on the stage for a group photograph. Okay, please, a group photograph. I won't pose you. You sabi take photo, Abi. Go take her well. No, take her. See. Make I see him. What do you do?